Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, Kiyan, who at age 20 got a remote job making $20 an hour, his first job without a college degree. And he got the job within 1 month of starting to apply for jobs after finishing my course and following all of my instructions. So thanks for being here, Kiyan. I'm very excited to share your story with everybody.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here and ready to get going.
All right. So first of all, like what I always do, let's start out by talking about what you're doing right now. What is your job? And then we'll talk about how you got there. So what is your job right now?
Sure. So right now I run all digital marketing operations for a completely remote company based out in Pittsburgh, nowhere near where I live. And yeah, so I run all their operations directly under their CEO. Right now we're doing a lot of SEO cleanup on their site as they really haven't had a lot of experience marketing there before. So a lot of SEO work and starting a big email campaign starting in the first quarter of 2021.
That's great. And what are you getting paid?
I started off at $20 an hour. And yeah, starting there, good place to start.
It's a fantastic place to start, especially for somebody who is 20 and has no college degree. And you told me when we talked before that you're working about 30 plus hours a week, but you'll be full-time very, very soon. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. Plan on being full-time eventually. I just got to work it out with the company, and they plan on hiring me full-time. Just need a little bit of more time to start with. So we'll get there.
Yeah. And so let's walk people back, because again, these stories are so fantastic. But let's talk about how you got here at age 20 and you started my course just a few months ago. And then we'll talk more about the job itself. So what were you doing before you found my course?
So yeah, I'm 20 now. When I was 13, I started working for a family business. Actually, we had a mattress store. I started out doing deliveries there, and by the time I was 16, I started running sales there. So I did sales. We ran a really small a Facebook ad campaign there. So I got my first little bit of marketing experience there. Really small. We didn't really know what we were doing, but something to get started with. So I did that until I was 19, and we actually decided to go to a different direction with the store. So then I started doing flooring installation with a friend of mine. I did that, I think, early part of 2019. I started that. A few weeks into it, I was just like, this isn't for me. I figured I'd try it out, but I really liked my sales job and I wanted to get back into that. So I was just scrolling through YouTube one day, found your course. A couple weeks later, decided to take it. Spent a little bit of time on it for a few months, did the spreadsheet, made a website. Then after about a year in the flooring business, started applying for jobs and got a digital marketing job. So
That's awesome. And what do you, wait, you said a year in the flooring business. You mean you were just sort of like tired of being in the flooring business?
yeah, I spent about a year there as my transition, but only took me about maybe 5 months after starting the course to get out of that and get into a marketing job.
That's awesome. Yeah. And that, to clarify for people, like you said, 5 months, because he told me about how you went through the course. You took your time, right?
I did. So I went through the whole course, like you've mentioned a few times in it, do the course first and then come back and do what I'm actually telling you to do. So I went through the course, went through a couple of the sections a few times to really get my understanding of it, then went back, did the spreadsheet, created my WordPress site, did my ad campaign, followed all the instructions, and worked out perfectly. Got a job. So but I took my time through it, went through all the steps, and took my time. Yeah.
I'm very curious also about your sales. You said you worked in sales when you were younger, which is so great. I've seen a lot of my students who get sales or public speaking, communications training when they're young. By the time you're 20 or so, your communication ability, your confidence is just that much more developed. So what were you doing in sales at your company? I'm just curious what that means.
Yeah. So like I said, we had a family business was a mattress store. And so what we'd have was it'd just be one salesman on the floor at a time. So between my father and I would kind of split up the time when I was 16. So pretty fortunate to get into a sales job at 16 years old, but that's a perk of having the family business. But yeah, so I'd be the only man on the floor selling mattresses. So over time you find different approaches, and it really helps you, even in a marketing sense, just to see how people react to certain things you say, and you get a good sense of how they'll act and what they'll go by. So it was a really good experience to have, and definitely helped out my situation.
So did your dad actually teach you anything about sales, or did he just kind of throw you out there and say, okay, sell some mattresses, kid?
It was a little bit of both, honestly. He tried to, but he's not much of a teacher. He's good at what he does, but he'd teach me a few things here and there, tell me his best tactics. But really, a lot of it was trial and error. I mean, he'd have a set. He'd say, "Hey, you should do this." People respond good to this, but generally, I would just kind of see what worked. If this didn't work, I'd try something else, and it goes hand in hand with marketing, really, because it really is trial and error the whole time. So it helped a lot.
That's great. I mean, were you ever nervous when you were approaching people, or was it very natural for you in the beginning?
Um, Maybe a little bit. It'd usually be a little. I'd be nervous for maybe 30 seconds, and then once I'm into the flow of it, it's fine for me. So a few people would be kind of caught off guard. They'd be like, "What is this 16-year-old doing selling me a $8,000 bed?" But it worked out for the most part. So people would either be like, "What's this kid doing?" or they'd be impressed. So it worked in my favor sometimes. Sometimes it didn't, but it went good.
That's a great lesson. And then for you younger people watching, if you're in high school, like my biggest recommendations are like it's harder now in some ways because of what's happening. But what I would normally tell people is like join Toastmasters or get a sales job. Get in a situation where you have to communicate with people. Communication, especially now because of smartphones. I was talking with some other guys my age, and we were like talking about when we grew up, there were no cell phones, and it's like it really you really slow your development if you're all the time on your phone not talking to people. And with digital marketing, it's not a sales job. You don't have to be talking to people all the time. 90% of your work is on the computer, but you want to have those communication skills when you're getting jobs, when you're dealing with clients, and I think it just helps your confidence. So focus on your communication skills, especially younger guys. Focus on your ability to be present with people, to listen, to speak clearly. And it comes with practice. It does. I can tell the moment you got on the call, I'm like, you don't seem like 20, and that's really, I think a lot of people, with your knowledge, people are willing to listen to young people in this field because it's digital, but you also need to bring a level of confidence. You can't be like chewing gum and like I said, like, oh yeah, Facebook ads are amazing. The ROI is so great. Yeah. My friend on Insta, you can't come across, it's a balance. I've had a lot of people, even Corey, when he was 19, we interviewed him, he's not sales. He's actually from North Dakota. That's great. I got both Dakotas here.
Oh yeah. So we're pretty close.
Oh yeah. So you're friends with Corey?
We should be. We're pretty close here.
Yeah. Oh, you're close in terms of your distance.
We're close in distance. Yeah, I haven't met Corey, but
I'll have to introduce you.
Should.
But he's 19, you're 20, or he's 22 now, but he started when he was 19. So it's definitely possible when you're younger, but you do need to, I think, put in the time to developing yourself. So then now let's, we talked about that. Let's go to the actual process of getting this job. So you went through the course, you finished the course, you started applying for jobs in October, you got this job in November. Tell us about the process of actually getting the job and applying.
Sure. Yeah. So in October, like you said, I started applying for some jobs. I think overall, I applied for a few right away, 2 or 3. I think I started applying for a couple in my town, which there's not a whole lot, first of all. I think overall, I applied for about 20 jobs. I got 5 or 8 calls back, and I got two interviews from some companies. So a couple weeks after that, I started doing some interviews. Interviewed with 2 different companies, of course, I said, and I actually ended up landing the job from both of them. So funny enough, actually, I got the email within 5 minutes of each other from both jobs saying I landed the job. So I went from like, oh, I wonder if either of these guys are going to call me back at some point, and then 5 minutes later, I got both the jobs. So how it ended up happening is, what was that?
That's awesome. I was just saying.
Yeah. So one of them paid a little bit more than the other one, but I ended up liking the job that paid less better. Just from my interviews with the company, I liked the management better. I liked the people I was around. The first job was a job in a PPC agency, actually. And PPC is actually really what I want to get into, what I want to do a lot of, but I actually rejected that job to go with the other job I took, which is more SEO, more email. And down the line, we're going to do some pay-per-click in 2021. But the pay-per-click agency offered me $20. This other job offered me 18, and I like the management better. So I told the PPC agency no. And I asked the other guy, I said, hey, I got another offer for $20 an hour. So if you can match that, I'd like to go with you. So just applying for more actually got me a raise right off the bat. So then I started with him and went from there.
That's amazing, guys. That's amazing, man. I mean, that's what you should do. It's what you should do. And it's an entry level position. This is, as I tell people again and again, this is just the starting point. This is how you level up to 60K in a year. And so tell me more. I'm really curious, like, why didn't you go with the agency? Because, an agency is where a lot of people want to work. You can get your hands on more accounts. It's more what you were interested in. But what was it specifically that, didn't make you want to take that job?
Mm-hmm. And looking at it overall, that job was exactly what I wanted. I wanted a remote PPC agency. The reason I decided to go with the other one was I just liked the people better. I felt more valued at the other company. The first PPC agency, I did one interview for about 25 minutes, and a week later they said they hired me. With the other job, I did 4 interviews about a week apart. And I could tell they were just way more interested. At this job, I actually have, there's a marketing director, not for the company, but that also works for us just on Fridays, as kind of a mentor for myself. And he mentioned that in an interview, and I said, yeah, I'd love to. The first job really is, I'm here to learn. I'm getting into the industry. I want to learn as much as I can. So I decided to go with a job that would cover all channels besides just specifically PPC. So that was a big reason for me.
So here's a question. Did you go to college?
Didn't go to college. I actually just graduated high school in 2018. So yeah, and I did, jobs for a little bit. I never planned on going to college. College was never really in my plans. I just knew I'd figure out something without that. So, and I always wanted to do something on the internet. It's been a growing industry. It's where everything's moving. So I'm like, I'll find something that way. And I did. So I'm 20 years old. Most of my friends are, in their second year in college right now, with nothing. And I'm in the industry I want to work in, and I have a job, and I'm already moving forward. So it feels good.
That's pretty much it. You guys know how I feel about this, and he summed it up pretty nicely. The job, let's just go the job itself. So this is, a lot of the recent interviews I've done, this is nice because most people are in paid. There's a lot of jobs in paid search and SEO, but some of my more recent interviews have been about paid search, but you're doing more, at least you're starting more with SEO. Tell me more about the job itself.
Yeah, so they had a really just not optimized at all site. So I've been there for about a month now, and we've made just tons and tons and tons of updates of the site, updating almost every page. And just this week, we're getting started to consolidate a list to make it a huge email prospecting campaign. And it's an industry where, you're not going to get a sale every day. It's manufacturing intelligence. So you're selling these big, expensive systems to manufacturers. So it's a slow moving pace. So there's a lot of room to get things set up before pushing for it really hard. So yeah, a lot of SEO, a lot of email, and we'll move into some paid later in the year.
That's fantastic. How much is one of their systems? Like, what price point are you at? I mean, roughly.
It's huge. It could range from a few thousand to a few $100,000. It's huge system. So
wow.
Yeah. So one lead, one sale is worth a lot.
How did the CEO relate to you? They must have, did they ask you how old you are? How did they relate to you as far as that goes? People come to the course your age and they have no work experience. So your resume, so when I say your age, what I'd say, you didn't walk around going, hi, I'm 20, but your resume had your digital marketing experience for the last few months. And then what was did you put your sales work in there
I
underneath
did,
it?
yeah, I did put my sales work in there. Also, my resume did have the years that I graduated from high school, so I guess they could probably pick up on how old I was right away.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, they never were like, "Oh, you're only 20. I don't know if you know what you're doing." And even in, I think, my second interview, he was like, "Yeah, I've interviewed a few people that have a lot more marketing experience than you, but he said I seem to know more than all of them, so that's why I got the job." But if you know what you're talking about, really, if you just get in the course, and if you really can just understand the main principles of why things are the way they are, and doing things the right way, and if you can express that to someone, come across that way, then you have a massive chance of getting the job.
And it's also really great that these guys were willing to work with you remotely. Did you find the job on LinkedIn? Did it say it was a remote job, or did you just see a job in Pittsburgh and just go, hell, I'm just going to apply for this?
I found a job on Indeed, and I set my search for only remote jobs. I knew here in South Dakota there wasn't going to be a few. There's only a handful that I could apply for, so I set it to remote. And especially with the pandemic right now, even places that weren't remote before are going remote, so it's a really good time for it, of course. But this company they're about half remote and half in person for all their operations anyway, so they'd be remote anyway. And yeah, it was never an issue to be far away, even with the little experience that I had.
Is there anything you want to say to anyone who's considering the course right now, or any advice you want to give, or just anything else you want to share?
Just be confident in yourself, really. And really, if you can understand the main principles of pay-per-click, why you're supposed to do this, match types, broad match modified, or SEO, the basic principles of SEO really are just to keep it clean, to not be unnatural, and to fit keywords in a natural way. And that's really in networking. So if you can understand the main concepts like that and just tell an employer about those main concepts, and the principles apply to everything you'll do. And if there's little things here and there that you don't know quite yet, you can Google it quick, or you'll learn quick. So don't be too intimidated, I guess, by any job, because like I did too with mine. Besides making the website from the course, I really had no experience, but they were impressed by my knowledge of digital marketing. So you don't have to know everything from the front to the end of the book. Just know some basic principles. You learn more on the job. And employers aren't as scary as you might think they are. It's just a normal job. They're just looking for someone to fulfill what they need, and you can do it.
That was well said. By the way, the job postings that you apply, I didn't ask you this, I forgot, but the job postings you applied to and you got callbacks on, or even the 2 job offers, what did the job posting say in regards to years of experience required?
Oh, I can't even remember exactly. They weren't. I think the one that the one that I accepted, didn't even have a requirement. It didn't even, or it wasn't listed in there. They were just looking for someone. The pay-per-click place was looking for, it was 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 years. I believe it's about 2 years combined is what they were looking for. But of course I didn't have any, and I got the interview and got a job offer. So
There you go.
and no one's gonna say, "Hey, I want no experience." I mean, no one's gonna say that. Who says, "Hey, I want someone with no experience"? But if you can
Right.
just prove you know what you're doing, you'll get the job. So they're all gonna say that, but they're all attainable.
Thanks so much for being here, Kiyan, and sharing your story with everybody. I'm really happy for you getting such an early start into this career. I'm also inspired by your attitude, your maturity, and I think hopefully you guys are inspired to see what's possible when you follow this path. So thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to meet you, and hopefully, my story resonates with a few people and brought some insight to how it really is.
Oh, it definitely did, man. And I'm excited. We're gonna definitely interview you in the future, and it'll be exciting to see your progress. So, thanks again for being here.
Awesome. Thank you too.